On this rainy Thursday. I hereby call this the second meeting of the House Standing Committee on Families and Children to order. As a reminder, please make sure that your cell phones are on silence. Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Baker, Representative Banta, Representative Kleins,
Here.
Representative Decker,
Present.
Representative Dietz,
Here.
Representative Elliott,
Here.
Representative Fleming, Representative Gooch,
Here.
Representative Proctor,
Here.
Representative Rayborn,
Here.
Representative Raymond, Representative Rorks,
Present.
Representative Tate, Representative Wilner,
Here.
Representative Wilson, Representative Riley, and Chair Heverin.
Here. Do members have any comments or recognitions before we get started? Perfect. Okay, we are going to go out of order today. I know that Representative Dixon and his guest have somewhere to be right after this. If I could go ahead and ask for Representative Dixon and his guest to make their way to the testimony table. We'll be hearing House Joint Resolution 39. Representative Dixon, please introduce yourself for the record, and then you can proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Chairwoman, I'm Representative Jonathan Dixon from Henderson 11.
Don't forget to turn on your microphone,
Turn that on.
Representative.
That might be a good move. Jonathan Dixon, District 11. I'll let my guest introduce herself.
Charles All, Executive Director of the Kentucky Chamber Center for Policy and Research.
Ms. Chairwoman, committee members, thank you for allowing us to present House Resolution 39 today. During the past interim, Senator Howe and myself co-chaired the Benefits Cliff Task Force, which took a deep dive into public assistance. The outcome of this task force are the recommendations that you see before you today in House Resolution 39. Kind of run down through the resolution, but the resolution points out a substantial amount of information that we gathered during our meetings. I would like to point out a few items that seem to be the bigger issues that we continue to talk about during the task force and that we wish to address in this resolution. Section 1 directs the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to conduct a thorough review of all public assistance programs to identify flexibilities permitted under federal law. This includes, but not limited to, the tiering of benefits or gradually phasing out benefits as recipients' income increases, and to report those results back and their findings to the Joint Interim Committee no later than November 1st of 2023. Section 2 directs the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to study the annual cost of maintaining changes to the Child Care Assistance Program implemented between January of 2020 and January 1 of 2023, of which the funding was either part of the CRRS, ARPA, or the Coronavirus Aid or Relief Package, or the CARES Act. This section would also allow the Cabinet to study potential changes to CCAP that would be cost neutral to the state, that would help minimize the likelihood that an individual receiving CCAP would experience a sudden or total loss of eligibility with a marginal increase in income. The other thing that we noticed in the task force was with some of those, and I'll kind of steer away for a moment, there was a substantial amount of money, federal money, that came down during the pandemic, and that money is being used. So in this resolution, we're actually asking the Cabinet to take a good hard look at that and see what that future looks like when that money is not there, no longer. Section 3 asks the Cabinet to integrate a user-friendly benefits cliff calculator tool, allowing users to input information to see how an increase in income would further affect their eligibility. Also ensure that the Department for Community-Based Services and their employees who are directly responsible for assisting individuals in applying and reapplying for public assistance be properly trained to use the benefits cliff calculator tool and report that fulfillment of that said back to the requirements of said requirements back to the committee November 1st, 2023. Section 4 asks them to implement an outreach and education program to increase the awareness and the utilization of the federal earned income tax credit and the availability of free income tax filing services among eligible public assistance beneficiaries. Ms. Chairwoman, I'll give a my guest a chance to testify as well.
Well, thank you, Representative Dixon. I can be very, very quick here. I do want to commend Representative Dixon and Senator Howell for their work on this task force throughout the course of the interim. And I want to thank the chairwoman for being willing to entertain this resolution, because I do think it's a very important issue. Over the interim, I had the opportunity to speak with this task force, and I raised some of the issues that we were seeing amongst the business community when it comes to how businesses have been approaching labor market shortages, labor market tightness, through increasing wages, offering opportunities to transition from part-time work to full-time work. And a barrier that employers often encountered was when they would make these types of offers, occasionally that particular employee would have to balance the possibility of increasing their wages, increasing the amount of hours worked, against the possibility of losing very, very important public assistance benefits. And so that created, as you can imagine, quite a bit of consternation as employers are trying to keep wages competitive, meet the demands of customers, and so on. And so this remains very much a real problem within Kentucky's labor market and within Kentucky's business community. As Representative Dixon mentioned, this isn't one of those things where you can just flip a switch and that there's an easy solution. These programs are tightly wound up with federal law, and they are administered as state-federal partnerships. And so I think the approach this resolution takes is a very careful one, where it simply asks the cabinet to provide this menu of options for the General Assembly to consider. I think the timing is really good to think about November. That gives time to dissect that information ahead of the 2024 session to determine if there are things that the state can do to address the benefit cliff issue. I do want to highlight the two other components that Representative Dixon mentioned. First, the benefits cliff calculator. That's something we've been talking about for a long time. Kentucky, KY Stats, they have, I think, a really nice tool that they've been working to improve over time. But I think if we can do more to integrate that into the type of platforms that benefit recipients utilize, and also to encourage more training amongst the HFS staff to utilize that tool, that can be really helpful. But I particularly want to hit on the idea of asking the cabinet to conduct an outreach program and awareness program concerning the federal earned income tax credits. Kentucky has a pretty good uptake rate for the EITC, around 80%. That's roughly on par with the nation as a whole, but there's no reason we can't do better. One of the main reasons that people don't utilize the earned income tax credit is because they don't file a federal tax return. If you file a federal tax return and you're a low-income individual, you will more than likely receive an earned income tax credit. That's several $100 million that Kentucky leaves on the table every single year. And so I think by simply raising awareness not only of EITC, but also of a lot of these free tax filing services that are offered through the Department of Revenue and also through nonprofit organizations, we can bring in more money to the pockets of working families just by that simply raising awareness. So I really commend the work that Representative Dixon's done on this, and we look forward to seeing where it goes.
Mr. Chairman, with that.
Motion on the resolution.
We've got a motion from Representative Elliott and a second from Vice Chair Riley. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Representative Rayburn.
In here, when you are directing the cabinet to do the thorough review of all public assistance programs, what does that thorough review entail? How will the cabinet direct that review? Have you had that conversation with the cabinet?
I haven't had that direct conversation with the cabinet, but during the task force meetings, it was a point that got brought up several times, and I think it's because there are several programs that either mirror each other or look the same, and there just wasn't enough information that came out about each individual program. So with that piece, there's kind of twofold. One, it's asking the cabinet to review those programs so that we can have that review information of actually what programs are they implementing in this area when it comes to benefits cliff. And then having them actually take a look at how do you improve those programs, because a part of that section was tiering the benefits and actually having a phase out period in the benefits. So it's really taking a deep dive into the programs and then also looking at is there options, per federal regulations for them to actually tier those benefits or to phase them out, which is why we're all here talking about what we're talking about is, the benefits cliff is us as government trying to work a way to help those individuals continue on in their employment. So.
Can I have a quick follow-up? The issue that I have when we're talking about what systems they may or may not use when doing that review I know when I worked with the cabinet, they use a state and federal hub to verify the review of those public systems, and they were deeply flawed. So hopefully the cabinet can do that deep dive into their systems and do a thorough review of those public assistants. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Baker. Representative Banta. Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Decker.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Elliott.
Aye.
Representative Fleming.
Aye, and record me as present, please.
Representative Gooch. Yes. Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Yes.
Representative Raymond.
Yes. Thank you.
Representative Riley. Representative Rorks.
Yes.
Representative Tate. Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Representative Wilson.
Aye.
Chair Heverin.
Yes. Okay. With a 15-0 vote, the bill shall pass favorably to the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman, committee members. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations, Representative Dixon, on passing the first bill out of the newly formed Family and Children Committee. I think the benefit cliff bill, being the first bill that we passed out of committee, truly shows the importance that we have for families and children in Kentucky and making sure that people are getting taken care of and not being hurt by the benefits cliff that truly is something that is a problem nationwide. Next up, if Representative Nick Wilson and his guests can please come to the table for House Bill 165. Please introduce yourself for the record. Once you get settled, make sure that your microphones are turned on.
Thank you, Chairwoman, for allowing me to present this morning. I'm State Representative Nick Wilson, District 82, and I'll let my guests introduce themselves.
I am Mandy Marler, Chief Policy Officer with Metro United Way and Lead Advocate for United Way of Kentucky.
And I'm Kate Shank, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs for the Kentucky Chamber.
So we're here this morning for House Bill 165. It's a cleanup bill from last year's House Bill 499, which was the Employee Child Care Assistance Partnership Bill. 165 makes two simple changes. The first is it requires a reporting date from the Cabinet of Health and Family Services to the General Assembly, to our body, and that date would be December 15th of 2023. Second, it allows for the child care provider, i.e. daycare, it allows them to terminate a contract, as well as the employer and employee. And House Bill 499 had the employer-employee, so this would just add the child care provider to that as well. So this is my first term, since I wasn't here last year to vote on House Bill 499, I'll let my guests present that, share any additional information, and we can answer any questions you all might have.
Thank you, Representative. And I think if you were here, you would have voted for it because it was a great piece of legislation. And Madam Chairwoman, thank you for leading on House Bill 499. So just a couple points on the bill for those of you who are new to the committee and to the General Assembly. Last year, the Chamber worked on several broad-based workforce-related bills. So we were coming out of COVID. We were struggling with workforce challenges. To be sure, that is nothing new. We have struggled with workforce participation in Kentucky and have consistently been in the bottom 10 of states in that particular metric, which is simply the percentage of working-age adults who are either working or who are looking for work. So we came into the 2022 session with a variety of bills related to that particular problem. And what we were hearing from our members repeatedly is that they had people who wanted to work, come back to work, but they were struggling with childcare issues, whether it be capacity, access to childcare, or even just affordability of it. So House Bill 499 tackled specifically the affordability piece of the child care barrier that we were seeing to workforce in Kentucky. And it created the public-private partnership where an employer could offer benefits to an employee to help cover the cost of child care and then get that money matched from the state, dollar for dollar, up to for dollar, depending on the individual's household income. And it set up a fund to provide those resources to individuals. And over the past year since session adjourned, the Cabinet's been working on creating or establishing the framework for it or implementing the program. They promulgated some regulations. They've created a website, and the application for businesses to apply for the program will hit April 2nd. So since then, we have been working to really promote and market the program to businesses across Kentucky. We've created a website with resources about the bill, other child care resources. We have a place where you can sign up to be notified when the application goes live. We've shared information with our local chambers and empowered them to reach out to their members as well to promote the program. And then we're also getting feedback from businesses that are very interested in it, asking a lot of questions, trying to understand how they might use it with their workforce. We actually helped draft a survey that was shared with the Society for Human Resource Managers to help employers sort of gauge an interest from their employees on a program like this. So, we don't just pass legislation over here, especially bills that have programs like this and step away. We stay very engaged to really help promote the program and make sure it's successful as well. So we are very excited for the rollout in about a month or so, and we'll be monitoring the progress of the program throughout the year as well. And certainly support this bill and these changes, and really looking forward to moving forward on this particular program.
I would just add that both as early childhood advocates across the United Way network and as nonprofit employers, we've been incredibly encouraged to see the rollout of this program, which we know tackles one of the key avenues to childcare access. If we think about childcare access as having sort of two streams in, one availability and one affordability, this program really targets that affordability piece. And the costs of childcare are real. They're rooted in fixed expenses. They are rooted in being able to pay staff wages that will keep them on board. They're rooted in insurance and other expenses that cannot be cut without endangering the health and safety of children. So we have to help parents afford it. This bill also does one of the key elements of the multifaceted solution that it's going to take to overcome the childcare crisis in Kentucky, and that is bring in private sector resources to the sector our workforce depends upon, which is childcare. It is the workforce behind the workforce. So I will say we ourselves have used the Chamber survey as we are evaluating this program and hope that it's going to help us compete in the nonprofit sector and as Metro United Way, because we need top talent to be addressing our community's most pressing and urgent challenges. And this is one way for us to have a recruitment and retention strategy that can help us do that.
We've got a motion from Vice Chair Riley and a second from Representative Wilner. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Baker. Yes. Representative Banta. Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Decker.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Elliott. Representative Fleming. Representative Gooch. Yes. Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Rayburn.
Pass.
Representative Raymond.
Yes.
Representative Riley. Yes. Representative Rorks.
Yes.
Representative Tate. Representative Wilner.
Yes.
Representative Wilson.
Yes.
And Chair Heverin.
Yes. This bill passes 14-0-1 with one pass, and this bill shall be sent to the floor with favorable expression. Congratulations, Representative Wilson, for passing your first bill out of committee as a new member.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. And I'm glad I got to vote for it. I wasn't sure if I voted or...
Not every day will be a celebration with every bill that we pass. But I do want to we don't always get a lot of joy in Frankfort sometimes. So when we can create our own joy, we will do that in this committee. Next, we'll review the administrative regulations referred to this committee. Does anyone have any questions about a specific regulation? If none, we will find these administrative regulations to be reviewed. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, the next item on the agenda is adjournment. The next scheduled meeting for the House Standing Committee on Families and Children is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, February 23rd, 2023 at 8 a.m. in room 171 of the Annex building. Before we adjourn, just for members to please look in your folder. There have been rules for the committee put in there. Those will also be sent to your email this afternoon, but just make sure that you take a quick look over those. See you all next week. Meeting is adjourned.